All right. Welcome to Gilbert's All About the Media podcast. I'm here with a new guest today. Surprisingly, please welcome my good friend Omar Mickelson. How you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So we are recording this the night after the 97th Academy Awards. I know sometimes when I do this, I tend to do it the night of, but I mean, it ended late. I just wanted to go to bed and, everybody's got their things to do. But it was a pretty good night. Honora was the big winner of the Oscars. It took home 5 out of its 6 nominations. For the first time ever, somebody won all 4 awards that he or she, or I'll put in the day, was nominated for. Sean Baker. And Sean Baker is a really good filmmaker, by the way. I got introduced to Sean Baker for those that don't know how I know Omar, him and I went to the same university, Sam Houston State, back in Huntsville. And I was introduced to Sean Baker from a class, but that was pretty much almost every single class we've taken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a couple classes like that. I think his film Tangerine got brought up by one of the professors I was taking. It was the film he shot entirely on like an iPhone 6 or three iPhone 6s. I
Yeah.
think one of my professors was talking about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Film appreciation. The
Yeah.
teacher was Esther Shemore, who I had. But that's how I heard of Sean Baker. Very indie filmmaker. Other than Tangerine, which if you watch the movie, you'll understand why it's called that. And just like Honora, Tangerine is about the sex workers, but it's about trans sex workers. And believe it or not, a long time ago, that movie was considered like before Emilia Perez, which we'll talk about. Before that, the lead actress in that movie was in talks to be the first trans woman to be nominated for Best Actress up in before. But obviously that didn't happen because indie films are so hard to get a campaign for the Academy Awards because there's so much money for that marketing can do that having it a campaign at the Oscars is like a lot more money that they sometimes they don't have. And Honora broke that boundary. It only had $6 million to make. And I saw Honora a couple of nights before the Oscars because one of the theaters was luckily still showing it. So I was like, you know what? It's probably the Best Picture winner front runner. So I better see it before it's too late. And yeah, I like that. I thought it was a pretty interesting movie. I know you definitely loved it.
Yeah, I was really honestly more excited about The Brutalist. I thought this one was going to far and away beat everyone out like it did at the Golden Globes. And when I actually went to go see it, I wasn't underwhelmed, but I was left wanting a little bit more. I was like, this was good. This wasn't great. But we can get into that a little bit more. I loved Honora, though. I thought it was my personal pick for Best Picture, and that's exactly what happened. I don't know how it swept more than The Brutalist and Emilia Perez combined, I think. But Sean Baker, yeah, he's one of my favorite filmmakers right now. I was actually born in the same town as him. And so I have kind of a weird connection of like just finding him to be a very personal inspiration, someone who directs, writes, co-produces, edits, sometimes casts his own movies. He does it all. He's like just a Robert Rodriguez of the indie world in a weird way.
Yeah.
I was really happy for him. And he broke the record. I think he's tied with Walt Disney for the most personal Oscar wins, taking home all those statuettes. One person. I think it's incredible.
At first, I thought it was Bong Joon-ho who broke that record. But remember, for Best International Feature, and even back then when it was called Best Foreign Language Film, the award doesn't go to the director or the producer. It goes to the country. So the director of those films will accept it for the country, but the country will take that because the movie, and by the way, Parasite is a great movie film. I just want to say that. Yeah. By the way, Mickey 17. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually going to say I'm watching his films right now in preparation for Mickey 17. I just watched The Host earlier today. I think it's an excellent film. It's a monster movie, but there's a lot more to it than just that. It's part black comedy, political thriller, medical drama, family drama. It's a lot of different genres at play, and I think Bong Joon-ho is great at mixing those genres.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the reason why he beat out Sam Mendes all those years ago for Best Director. Especially because that night he was expected to lose Best Director. Sam Mendes was winning like every Best Director, including the Directors Guild Award, which we're about to get into because DGA, the Directors Guild Award, is basically any guild award, again, something we're going to get into, is like a key component to actually winning an Oscar. And for those that don't know about the awards categories and stuff like that, I've never mentioned it in the past, or maybe I might have. I don't remember, but it takes more than just having a good film. and making a good performance to win an Oscar. There's these things called precursors. Omar mentioned there was the Golden Globes. That's usually the start of it. Then there's the Critics' Choice, the Screen Actors Guild Award, and then the British Academy Film Award, otherwise known as the BAFTA. The first two is more like a fire starter, if you will. It
Yeah.
starts everything. It's really SAG and BAFTA, the British Academy Film Awards, that's going to give you the determination who's really going to win the Oscar. And a lot of things have happened because of the SAG and BAFTA win. Many years ago, like let's take for instance Chadwick Boseman. Everyone thought he was going to win the Best Actor Oscar all those years ago, but Anthony Hopkins won the BAFTA. And even though he didn't even he wasn't there to accept both the BAFTA and the Oscar, still with that BAFTA win, Anthony Hopkins won the Best Actor award. And I know a lot of people were pretty pissed about that. It's not like they were mad at Anthony Hopkins that year. It was just because, like, for some reason, the producers decided to present Best Actor as the last category to present.
They switched it up. They
Yeah,
did that last night too. They did the Best Supporting Actor very first at the very beginning, and then they held off on Best Supporting Actress
yeah,
until farther along into the show, which I think they tried to do that to kind of like maybe encourage viewership to be spread out throughout the night, and they don't want people turning off their TVs too early on or like fast forwarding. They want people to sit and enjoy the smaller categories, which I think is good. I will say it's funny you talk about who was expected to win because my dad, who he doesn't have a big interest in the Oscars, but he likes sports a lot. And when the NFL playoffs were going on, a lot of times he would go online and look up who was favored to win by Vegas. And I didn't realize until yesterday, but Vegas also has people betting on who's favored to win the Oscars. And so when I asked him who Vegas was betting on, he said Honora is favored to win. And this was before Honora won.
wow,
So people can bet on the Oscars in Vegas at sports betting places like they bet on the Super Bowl. And I didn't even know that you could do that. But even it was already in the cards for
yeah.
to win, I guess.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, because there are some apps that you can bet on. If I did, I probably would have lost big time. Yeah, it's mainly with
Yeah.
the best actress, which we'll also get to, and the best animated feature. Because everyone thought like the Wild Robot was gonna win, and I saw that a couple of nights beforehand, and I love the Wild Robot. I regret not watching it in theaters, but
Hmm.
I'm still glad I at least seen it. I do want to watch Flow though. It's on HBO Max if anybody's got or Max. I'm still stuck in
Yeah.
the past, but it's on Max. I think the reason being is because one, it's also an indie film, Flow, and
Yes.
two, it's a foreign language indie film. I
Yeah.
feel like,
Well,
yeah,
Latvian, yeah, foreign country, no
yeah,
dialogue in the movie at all. It's just meows and barks from the cats and the dogs. And
yeah,
I think I think I saw somewhere that the filmmakers recorded the audio from their own pets, like in their apartment. And it was really heartwarming to see. It just, you had some of the big names, Pixar, DreamWorks, Aardman, and it was just a couple of guys from Latvia that won the award. And it was I think it was one of the first times that the best foreign language film category also had one of the films from the best animated feature, which animation is such a worldwide thing now that you're bound to get. Memoir of a Snail was another one that was it was Australian, and it was an R-rated animated feature. So not only do you have foreign animation, but you also have adult animation still playing a pivotal role in the film world.
yeah. Yeah, and before that, I mean, Hayao Miyazaki won the award twice for
Yeah.
Spirited Away, and then last year with The Boy and the Heron, which I
Yes.
still haven't seen, but I know that they're really good films because Japanese anime films are actually really good. I mean, I remember growing up with Princess Mononoke, which is the most famous one of
Classic.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Flow won. I definitely would have lost a lot because, like, you also got to think the Wild Robot had three awards, which are three nominations, counting Best
Yeah.
Animated Feature, which was score and sound, and Flow only had two. I mean, and there was another animated film that was nominated for both animated feature and foreign language film, but it was also nominated for best documentary, which was also it's called Flea. I don't remember
Yes.
too much about it,
Yeah.
but I gotta go look it up. But yeah, there was that. Definitely the shorts category. It's always hard to predict those because you can't. There's no precursors for the live action short, the animated short, or the documentary short. It's just more like you just have to pick your poison and see, what could or
Hmm.
couldn't win.
They show
Um,
those at festivals, and they don't really give them a lot of marketing and good releases. It's kind of like those that you either saw them at a festival in like, I don't know, Los Angeles or Austin, or you didn't.
yeah. And the
But
interesting
some of
thing,
them look
yeah,
interesting. I want to check
yeah.
some of those.
Yeah. And the interesting thing though is that like believe it or not, like some of those awards, like the shorts categories, most people don't know that some famous people got nominated in that category. Like believe it or not, I found this out, Jeff Goldblum was nominated for directing in live action short that
Oh,
him and William
God.
Zabka. William Zabka is the one that surprised me the most. And then, wow, what's his name again? He came out in Sound of Meadow and Rogue One. I think his also name is Omar. I'm trying to remember.
Hmm.
But anyway, he also won for directing a live action short. And then I keep finding this out. By the way, I get a lot of my information. I just go online, and then if you ever want to know more, I can recommend a couple of YouTube channels that talk about this stuff, like the Oscar Expert, the Awards Contender, Austin Berg, and Luke Harfield are pretty much the main ones. They give you a good information. But I found out from the Awards Contender and a member of the Next Best Picture podcast that one of the nominees for Best Score had won last year for Best Documentary Feature. So it's
Hmm.
interesting how like most people can win an Oscar even if it's not for like something that they normally do, you know? Or who else? Man, he directed The Banshees of Inisherin and Three Billboards.
Martin McDonough.
Martin McDonough. He also
Yeah.
won for the live action short. So you might not even need to like if you're a filmmaker, you might not even need to like do a full length feature. And when there's the
Hmm.
shorts, people will actually underestimate the power of making short films. I mean, you and I, we've definitely made short films while we were in university.
Yeah.
Him and I actually worked
We
together. Yeah, we
we
worked on.
won an award.
Oh, or we were nominated. Well, did we win or we were nominated?
Well, we were a finalist for we made a Dogma 95 inspired film,
Yeah,
but you won Best Director for that.
yeah,
It was our college's film festival awards,
yeah.
the Heat Wave.
Yeah, it's online again. If y'all want to check it out, look up Dogma Ball. Again, it sounds funny, but when I don't know
On
who.
IMDb. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's on his IMDb page. Go check that out too. But like I don't know, when we came up with the name, or somebody came up with the name. I think our writer Carter came up with the name, and I think we all
Mhm.
just agreed to it.
It was a
Um,
joke. Yeah.
it was a
And
joke,
it went
but
far. Good.
yeah,
Yeah, I was the DP for that. I shot it on some friends I had in Huntsville lent me. He's a professor too at the university. He works in the Lee Drain building. Stephen Brown lent me a camera that he used to film a lot of his kids' middle school theater plays and productions on this camera. And it was just a little crappy camcorder that I just was like, this is perfect because I watched some of those old Dogma 95 films, some of those Thomas Vinterberg and Lars von Trier films, and it looks like a home movie, some of it. I mean, they have very strict rules on like how the production is supposed to look, and we did pretty good with that one. I feel like because we used some of the car headlights in the parking lot
mhm.
as the lights, and it was a good little film. I'll see if I can find it. I think some of the YouTube versions have been set to private, but somewhere I think I have the original file shared to me.
Yeah, it's on my YouTube, so y'all could go
Oh,
check it out. Yeah, I mentioned this a while back when I did my episode about like film stuff that I did. So if y'all
mhm,
want to know all about like what the Document 95 rules, I recommend go checking that out. And if you
mhm,
want to research it yourself. But yeah, it's a very interesting film. I hope if it comes back, I mean, I hope it comes back, but it's difficult now. But then again, given what's Sonora, indie films are getting more the respect they deserve. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Again, it's just difficult because indie films have a very limited budget, and marketing
mhm,
is the reason why we get these Oscar campaigns. And they require a lot of money that's way out of the budget of like when with these indie films. Again, Nora had $6 million to make. Sean Baker, yeah, he won editing, he won writer, director, and of course, Best Picture
mhm.
for those that don't know, and I've mentioned this before, the producers are the ones that get the Best Picture awards. Him and I forgot what his wife's name is.
Samantha Kwan
Yeah, those
and
are,
Alex Coco is the other producer. Yeah.
yeah, those are two, I think, of many married couples to win the Best Picture award. Last year, Christopher Nolan and Emma Thomas, I mean, they
Hmm.
both won. I mean, they're married and they won for Oppenheimer. I do kind of wish he came back to present Sean Baker, and that's something that I wish they do sometimes is that they get the previous Best Director winner to present, but understand like sometimes the directors they direct they got to do stuff that for their next project. You know, Nolan's getting ready for the Odyssey, which
Hmm.
that's gonna be something, definitely something. But Quentin Tarantino presenting Best Director. Now that's something you don't
That's
get.
the passing of the torch I liked because he even
Yeah.
said like if it wasn't for your film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Mikey Madison, like that was her first big movie. I think that was her third film,
Hmm.
and now she's a household name
Yeah.
because she's won an Oscar and she was star of the Best Picture winner. I read somewhere that Sean Baker, I think, either watched that or Scream and decided to go home and write a screenplay with her in mind to play the lead. She didn't audition for that film. She didn't have to audition. He picked her to be the star.
Yeah. And that's kind of like where I'm at when I'm writing a film. I was like, who can I play like a certain character of mine? It's like, and I'm going back to like older actors we don't get to hear from nowadays. Like I'm dealing with something that's been like something with my family and loss and stuff. And I thought of like for the dad character, hopefully no one steals this idea, but for the dad character, I thought of like Lou Diamond Phillips because you don't hear from that guy anymore.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
He's in some TV shows and stuff, I think,
Yeah.
but not movies really.
Yeah. And I know some people because like the characters are Hispanic, and I know he's technically not Hispanic, he's Filipino.
Hmm.
But he's played a lot of Hispanic characters back then. Richie
Hmm.
Valens, the Tombstones. I mean,
Hmm.
it's happened. Yeah.
Another local connection. I went to high school near where Lou Diamond Phillips went to high school. He was
Oh
in the
wow.
next school district over for me in Corpus Christi. And
Yeah.
so he went to high school there, and I knew some people that were like, "Oh yeah, I was in class with him once or something like that." And another great local connection I like about Sean Baker, his last film, Red Rocket, entirely filmed on location in Galveston,
Oh wow.
um, and Texas City. And it's not my favorite film of his, but I really liked how, you know, he he painted a really visceral picture of Texas, of the Gulf Coast, and I really liked that
Yeah.
film. So that's another one I'd recommend go checking out if you're in Texas.
Yeah. And of course, the Florida Project's a really good one too. Willem Dafoe got nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
Nominated for Golden Globe and the Oscar for
Yeah.
Best Supporting Actor that year. Yeah.
But one of these days he's gonna get his award, Willem Dafoe. I just know it. It's just that there's just obstacles. But Honora, like back to Honora, when I saw Honora, I mean, obviously, like I was a bit on the fence for personal reasons. I've had like issues of I'm not gonna say like the word, but I'm gonna say it's minor word. I've had issues of like looking up adult content on the internet when I was young. So,
Hmm.
well, I was more afraid of if it's gonna set me off, and it barely did, but I pushed through it. And
Hmm.
once you get past that, because I know some people are gonna be like, is it? It's first of all, if you're thinking it's like Pretty Woman, no, by
Hmm.
a long shot, it is not like Pretty Woman. Pretty Woman, believe it or not, makes Honora makes Pretty Woman look like a kids film by because
It's a fairy tale. I heard someone say it's like a modern fairy tale. On the poster, it even says it's a love
yeah,
story. And I didn't mean to laugh, but I did read like a lot of positive, like people are like that's a sex movie. It actually received a lot of positive comments from people actually in the sex work industry. I know
yeah,
Mikey Madison and Sean Baker and the filmmakers extensively researched that world, and it seemed to me it was depicted very fairly and
yeah.
very positively in a positive light. It kind of eschewed a lot of the stereotypes you see from movies like Pretty Woman or Showgirls or
Hmm.
movies of that kind of genre.
Yeah.
And it seemed like it was done in a very tasteful light, and I liked that about it.
Yeah, because like I've seen a lot of interviews of sex workers, and they talk about how bad their life has been because of what they've done. And I'm not trying to like put it all as a bad thing, because I know like there are some that kind of enjoy what they're doing. I'm not going to put the politics into it, but you hear both sides of the argument, But Honora kind of fits both sides of the argument, really, especially with like the last act of the movie
Hmm.
which we could talk about because like the whole sex work and stuff that actually is more of in the first act and a little bit was in the second act of the movie. It's not until the rest of the movie, from the second act to the third act, that it shifts into something else. Because after the whole marriage scene, it gives me that. I don't know if you've ever seen Uncut Gems, but that entire act when they're looking for
Yeah. When I
Vanya,
saw the
yeah,
trailer for Nora, I got huge Safdie Brothers Good Time and
yeah,
Uncut Gems vibes. I get that from some of Sean's earlier films too. Prince
yeah,
of Broadway, Takeout. that raw depiction of like the down on your luck type people living in New York City.
Hmm.
I got that from Anora especially well. So it served as a good callback to his earlier films in that way.
Yeah,
And I really liked the it was always yelling, constant, over the top profanity use
yeah,
and drug use, and yeah, there was a lot of Uncut Gems vibes I was getting from the trailer even. And so when that trailer first dropped, I'm like, I want to see that movie someday, and so I watched it. I blew me away.
yeah. But yeah, it does get to you. Again, the last act of the movie. Now I understand why Yuri Borisov was nominated. It would have been interesting if he
Yes,
won, because Honora would have gone 6 for 6. But Kieran Culkin, which I saw a real pain, and I'm not gonna lie, he was really good
he
in
was
a real
great.
dude. Like,
Hmm.
okay, this is why I love like movies like okay, indie films are real. Like they make everything feel real and a
Hmm.
real pain. And this is coming from a guy who's suffered a lot of loss in his life. I
Hmm.
understand loss and grief, and we all take grief and loss differently. Like I've dealt with it and unhealthy habits and stuff like that. Kieran Culkin is a representation of many people who suffer that. Because like if you haven't seen A
Hmm.
Real Pain, just a synopsis is about these two cousins who went to Poland to see the land of their grandmother who they lost. We don't really know like how long ago their grandmother lost. We just know it's pretty recent, and they wanted to
Hmm.
recognize her by going to Poland. And it becomes so surreal because they're going in a concentration camp area because supposedly their grandmother was a Holocaust survivor. And dude, Jesse Eisenberg, I think is a really good filmmaker now. When you
Yeah.
see like, because he won the BAFTA for best screenplay. All right. And I know some people are like,
Hmm.
like about some of these award shows. Back to the whole Nora thing. In the beginning, Nora wasn't getting anything. It didn't get any Golden Globe wins. Mikey Madison lost the Best Actress award, and as Omar's mentioned, it lost the Best Director award to Brady Corbet for The Brutalist, which
Hmm.
also won Best Motion Picture Drama. And then
Hmm.
Nora that was nominated for Best Motion Picture Comedy or Musical. Yes, they have two different Best Picture categories. That lost to Amelia Perez. That's
And
okay.
Mikey lost at the Golden Globes to Demi Moore, which I was really happy about that because I loved The Substance and I love Demi as an
Yeah.
actress. And I was happy to see her get. She had never gotten an award
No, she
on
hasn't.
that level. I don't
Yeah.
think maybe a Saturn Award or something like that, but never a Golden Globe. And
No.
I was very thrilled to see that. And The Substance, I hoped it would win more. It won last night. It won for best makeup and hairstyle. Which, to be fair, if you've seen the movie and if you've seen the transformation in that, she's not recognizable at all. It's a far cry from what she did. Some of her movies in the '80s when she was in Ghost, completely different type of movie, and I really liked it. But I would have liked to see that movie win some more awards. But yeah, I was happy about Honora. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're good. But like we said, like Honora again wasn't really winning anything. And
Yeah.
then Critics' Choice Awards, it only won Best Picture. And surprisingly, John M. Chu from Wicked won Best Director at the
Hmm.
Critics' Choice Awards, and he wasn't even nominated for the Oscar.
No.
No, that was a huge surprise. Maybe next year for Wicked for good. I don't.
Wicked
Okay,
Part Two, probably.
okay. I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't seen Wicked just because I haven't never got a chance to. But it's gonna be on streaming the month of this recording, so I'll finally get my chance. But it's also a blessing because like when it came out, so many people would be singing and stuff like that, and I'm just gonna be
Mhm.
trying to enjoy the movie. So that's kind of a blessing in disguise. But again, kind of wish I saw Wicked in theaters. My mom saw it. She liked it. I
My
think she
mom
actually,
too.
yeah,
She
she
liked
really
it.
loved it. But yeah, Nora just won the Best Picture at the Critics' Choice Awards. And then, as we mentioned, the Guild Awards. The Guilds are very important as everything else. They're important as SAG and
Mhm.
BAFTA. Honora
Yeah.
won the PGA, the Producers Guild Award, DGA, Directors Guild Award, and then the WGA, the Writers Guild Award. That instantly is telling us, okay, I think Honora's going to win big. Like other than The Brutalist, the other film that could have been Honora, though, I've always felt like this was an odd one, was Conclave. Even though I like Conclave, I saw it on
I
Peacock.
really liked it. I
Yeah,
thought it was deserving of the awards that it
yeah,
got. It won Best Screenplay at the Oscars and the Golden Globes
yeah,
for Peter Straughan.
yeah. And I didn't know Peter Strong wrote Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which I actually did like. I got to go
Mhm.
back to, but Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, very underrated. It is a slow burn for some people, but you really got to constantly watch it to actually understand it. But yeah, I really like that one. And some people say maybe Conclave could swoop in, but I feel like there was so much love for Honora that I think like no. And of course, like I know some people were pretty, pissy that Demi lost the Best Actress award. Yeah, which I'll
And that, and I'm still here.
oh
I'm still
yeah,
here. I was happy to see it go to win. I was happy to see I'm still here win the best international feature film, because I know a lot of people, especially on Instagram, I saw a lot of Brazilian commenters and Portuguese language commenters were damning constantly, like Fernanda, they're gonna win. At least it got something, but a lot of people were like, Mikey, Mikey, count your days
yeah,
in the comments on Instagram, and in general, I think it was a big shock to Portuguese speaking community. Me and Gilbert, I will say we have a professor in common that we've taken a class from, and she is a
oh yeah,
Brazilian,
hmm
and she was very happy to see. I talked to her after the awards. We talked about I'm Still Here a little bit, and she's like, that was a film that I'm very glad was needed to get out there and get its day in the sun,
yeah,
because in this day and age, like that's a film that needs to be told, and it's a great story. I won't go too much into the details, but it is based on a true story about a woman whose husband was a political dissident during the military dictatorship in Brazil in the 60s and 70s, especially for the Latin American world. That each person probably that comes from Latino descent, whether it's Spanish or Portuguese or what have you, has probably felt some kind of way about political upheaval in those countries, and especially as they come to America. To There were a lot of really well done political films, and sometimes that's a mixed bag, because sometimes you feel like they're just going to the Oscars because they're Oscar baity. But in the case of some of those films, like I'm Still Here and Nickel Boys, which I saw recently, that was one of the last films I saw before the awards on Sunday, and it didn't win any awards, but I thought it was a very well done movie that talks about civil rights issues, and it was done in a very experimental way, shot completely, almost completely from a first person narrative, using camera trickery. It almost looks like the entire movie takes place from the eye line of the two of the main characters. And I haven't seen a lot of movies do that. And so this year was definitely a year where we saw a lot of those types of, based on a true story, based on a political thing type movies that were handled in a really new way. And I liked that.
yeah. So I like to continue right now, but we're gonna actually gonna take a small break right now. We have a lot more to talk about after this, so don't go anywhere. We're heading to break right now. All right, and we're back. Anyway, so let's talk about a couple of things real quick about one of the Best Picture nominees that was a lot of controversial, and that was Amelia Perez. I'm not on the hate train. It's definitely not
Me
my cup
neither.
of tea. It's not my cup of tea. But then again, I'm not a huge musical person, which was why I was a bit iffy on watching Wicked. But I question 13 nominations. That's what it really was for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just won two.
Yeah, I want to. I feel bad for Jacques though, because he looked like he really wanted to speak. Jacques Audiard is the director of
Mhm.
the movie, and he was the song. It looked like he wanted to say something, but Camille and I don't know what the other guy's name was.
Well, man, thanks.
Yeah, they were like saying a whole bunch of stuff, and it looked like again Jacques just wanted to say something, and he didn't get that chance. And I feel bad for him, but it was controversial for a lot of reasons. Obviously, Carlos Sofia Gascon, which a lot of old tweets of hers like resurfaced that were seen like racist and Islamophobic and stuff like that. And okay, there's multiple reasons why I don't have Twitter or X, depending on what you call it as. And that's one of those reasons. It's because I don't know why people like bend their life on the internet trying to find a tweet that's just gonna backfire on somebody years later. It's just like, why are you doing that?
Everyone's
And
got skeletons in their closet. Yeah.
yeah, she's got skeletons in her closet, and I feel bad because like she works so hard. And yes, I know I'm center right, but I'll still say she just because she still has the she quality. But she's worked so hard to become the first trans actress to be nominated, and you know, but look, guys, nobody's perfect. I'm not. I'm definitely not. We're none of us are. We all done and said stupid stuff, even online. And yes, the internet exists, guys. But I mean, that's just the world we live in. I'm at least okay. I'm or glad that she made an appearance at the Oscars because beforehand she wasn't to make an appearance at the Critics' Choice or the Screen Actors Guild or the BAFTA because of those controversies. And then Jacques Audiard just didn't make anything better by just saying like I don't know. I forgot what he said.
He
I
said, well, it felt kind of out of pocket for him to say that and to say anything, anyways, because a lot of people interpreted his film as kind of like stereotypical of the trans community and
Mhm.
Mexicans. I myself am half Hispanic, and I'm not the best Spanish speaker in the world,
Neither am I.
but
So
but the whole film, someone said he just ran the script through Google Translate, and as a Frenchman who doesn't speak a lick of Spanish, barely speaks English at all, it didn't seem fair, like a fair portrayal. And I get that. I 100% am not, supporting any kind of claim to say, oh no, it was fair, it was perfect. I'm not saying that. But he responded towards the Carlos Sofia Gascon controversy. Gas controversy is all what I almost said. I almost mixed the two words together. That's the hashtag that's going to go viral. Gas controversy. But no, if it was something like, I'm not speaking to her, I don't want anything to do with her, I don't want to respond, I'm done with her. Basically, is I think something he said. And so at that point, I thought she wasn't going to be at the Oscars at all because they were supposed to take her off the campaign trail. Or she wasn't going to get her nomination revoked, I don't think, but she was kind of. They were trying to keep things quiet with that, and I think that was the nail in the coffin for any big awards to win. So
yeah,
not like it wasn't like she was getting canceled, but it was like I think people are going to look the other way now and give these other films a try because there was this whole thing about a lot of the Academy voters didn't want to go see The Brutalist because it was too long,
oh
or
yeah,
they didn't want to vote for Adrian Brody because, or they didn't want to vote for Ray Fiennes for the Conclave because they thought he had already won one.
no,
There's some favoritism for sure, but they weren't. I don't think going to give Amelia Perez the shot that it got a Golden Globe, and that was, I think, a big feature. It only won 2 of 13 nominations. 13 awards that it was nominated for,
yeah, and one of them being Best Supporting Actress for Zoe Saldana.
which I thought was great. I'm glad
Yeah,
she won. I
that
would have
she,
liked to see it go to Felicity, but Felicity
yeah,
Jones for the Brutalist. But Zoe's speech was very impassioned, and I think she's caught in the middle of a lot of
mm,
muddy stuff right now,
yeah,
unfortunately. And she's a
yeah.
great actress, though.
No, she is. It's because like kind of like what Demi said at the Golden Globes, how Demi was described herself as a popcorn actress. Same thing with Zoe because she was in the Marvel movies. She was in
Avatar,
Avatar.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, but she became the first Dominican descent to win an Oscar, which is
Hmm.
I guess a huge achievement. Yeah,
Hmm.
I would say a huge achievement. And she said she's glad she won an Oscar for playing a Spanish speaker because
Hmm.
that was her first language. And her being the grandchild of immigrants, so it was a
Hmm.
good move. It was a good thing for her because I know some people were like, "Man, does the controversy affect Zoe?" No, it doesn't. All right, and if it does, that's not fair to put it on Zoe because she has
It's not.
nothing to do with it. Yes, she was in the movie, but
Hmm.
she has nothing to do with it. She's kept her distance from the
Hmm.
controversy. Controversy, you know what I mean?
She stands by Jacques Audiard. She's like, I don't think he meant any ill will by doing the movie like how he did. I know they didn't shoot very much of it in Mexico. I think maybe some pickup shots and stuff like that, but most of it was shot on sets and in studios in France. And I think that's like the way I see it. Like, especially if a lot of these movies went into production right as soon as the pandemic was starting to settle down. I think I've seen some people say about The Brutalist. Brady Corbet has talked about how the movie took 7 years to make because they had to slow down and they had a bunch of people pass away who were working on the movie during COVID. And so if that was the reason why, if it's like if Jacques like I don't want to go to Mexico and travel so much during COVID, that's one thing. Was the film perfect? No. I think it was exceptionally shot. There were a lot of really heartfelt moments. That Papa song is beautiful, but it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't going to be something I really wanted to see win all the big. I didn't want to see an Amelia Perez sweep, in other words. But
Yeah.
I'm happy that Zoe got her flowers for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really like a Amelia Perez thing. It's just an Oscars thing. But every year we will get a film that's nominated for Best Picture in a lot of other categories, and that makes the audience go, that one.
Hmm.
Again, this year was Amelia Perez. Last year it was Maestro. I haven't even seen Maestro, but
Yes.
yeah, the year before I tried to look it up. Maybe Elvis, but I'm not too sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, and
I
then
remember it was Crash about 10 years ago. Crash
yeah,
was a
Crash.
controversial Best Picture win because it was kind of like, where did this, and it won Best Picture. I people will probably go on to say that's more like the Honora example. It's like a lot of people upset about Honora winning, but I've seen some mixed reception toward Honora winning. But yeah, Crash was one. Like some, I remember up until recently when it was just like 8 nominations or 7 or something like that. Now it's 10. And I was talking to someone the other day. It was like that kind of makes it easy for all these blockbuster films like Wicked to and Dune Part Two
Yeah,
to
Dune.
come in and take the best picture hopeful spot. But I think that the Academy maybe is just trying to appeal more towards the mainstream moviegoers and not be so artsy and pretentious.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how you brought Crash up too, because I remember like if somebody said if Amelia Perez won, it would make Crash a more deserving film. And but okay, here's the thing: the whole Crash and with the Green Book win, I'm not as
Yeah,
like
Green Book.
upset about it because I saw those
Hmm.
movies long after they won Best Picture, especially
Hmm.
Crash. And be honest with you, I haven't seen Brokeback Mountain until a couple of weeks ago. Like I've seen it in parts, but I've never seen the full movie. So seeing the full movie, and I've seen Crash beforehand. I was
Hmm.
like, when I saw it, I was like, okay, I get it. It is a pretty like well shot, well directed film. Then Crash, and then Capote, which also came out that year, which I actually did enjoy. If you haven't seen Capote, go check it out. I don't know where you can find it, but and then Green
Good
Book,
Night and Good Luck was
Good Night
another
and Good
one from
Luck.
that
Yeah,
year. Great movie.
yeah, and then with the Green Book
Robert Downey
win,
Jr.
yeah. Yeah. With the Green Book win, I wasn't a huge fan of Roma, neither was my family. But when I saw Green Book in 2020, when, we were all locked in, we couldn't go anywhere, I saw it and I was like, okay, I questioned the best picture win as everybody else is. It's definitely got some like questionable writing, especially because there's a controversy. It was controversial because Nick Vallelonga, who wrote the film, is the son of Tony Vallelonga, the main character in Green Book, Viggo Mortensen's
Tony
character.
Lip.
Yeah. And he only wrote it from that perspective. And then the nieces and nephews of Don Shirley, Mahershala Ali's character,
Hmm.
because Don Shirley didn't have any kids of his own, the nieces and nephews were offended because of how he was portrayed. And Nick said, I'm not trying to show disrespect to Don Shirley's family. I'm hearing it from one side. And I'm not saying if he collaborated with some of Don Shirley's family to write a perfect way for this movie. In fact, I wouldn't even think the movie would have existed because they probably would have crashed on you know, like how one hurt the other of the story. But like I said, like it is what it is. I can't tell people to get over it. The reason why is because I'm salty on two films that won Best Picture. One of them being Saving Private Ryan, losing to Shakespeare in Love. That's because
Yeah.
I'm the son of an army person. All right, my dad was an army medic,
Hmm.
and I'm a proud supporter of the United States Armed Forces. So that's one thing. Elmar kind of knows because I kind of what the short film that I won for was about that. And
Yeah, and you dedicated your win to Best Director. I remember to your dad who passed away, right?
yeah, that
Yeah.
and then I'm not too salty on the other win, but the Birdman beating Boyhood. I like Boyhood. I like Birdman. It's just more of like Richard Linklater made a movie that took him 12 years to make. And then he was winning Best Director and Best Picture in all these other categories. He lost DGA to Alejandro Iñárritu for Birdman, and Birdman won Producers Guild Award. You guys are kind of hearing the pattern on this one. And then Oscars night, Birdman took home Best Picture and Best Director. And then a year later, Alejandro Iñárritu would win Best Director again for The Revenant. So
Yes.
that's where I'm like, okay, like I wouldn't mind if Birdman won Best Picture if they still gave the Best Director award to Richard Linklater, but or vice
Hmm.
versa. It just depends. Mainly just the Best Director for Richard Linklater because again, Alejandro would win the following year for The Revenant, which I actually did like The Revenant. Alejandro is a good director. I haven't heard from him in a while, but I know Richard Linklater has some movies coming out. He did last year with The Killer. I think it was oh no, never mind. That was David
Hitman.
Finch. Hitman, yeah.
Yeah.
Hitman. Yeah. My head's mixed up right now, but
No, that's all good. Boyhood, how I felt about Boyhood's kind of how I felt about The Brutalist. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it.
yeah,
I think I had overhyped myself for Boyhood when I first saw it because I was expecting like it was the same thing. I think the same tagline for both movies. It was like called A New American Masterpiece or like the biggest movie ever made or something like that.
yeah,
And when I watched it, I'm like, that was really good. I loved the soundtrack. I loved the scope. I loved the concept that they went with because both movies kind of had this different concept, that this different approach to filmmaking where Richard Linklater would shoot parts of it every year from 2002 to 2014.
yeah.
And Brady Corbet also, it took him years to make The Brutalist, and it was hailed as this new modern epic
Hmm.
and a revitalization of the epic genre, which I grew up watching a lot of epics. The length didn't bother me, but the it was a little underwhelming. It was a little like the concept was cooler than the movie than the end product itself. And that's no disrespect toward. I love Linklater.
Yeah.
I love Brady Corbet. I think I love most of their work. So they have a very impressive body of work, both of them. But it's just the handling of that concept proved to not be not be what I was expecting, and that's okay. But Boyhood, yeah, is definitely like The Brutalist is the Boyhood of today for me. I feel like where Boyhood really didn't win as many awards as expected to.
Yeah. And going back to 10 years ago, that was 10 years ago. No,
Yes.
time flies by fast because 10 years ago, I was a senior in high school. And it's just ironic
Hmm.
because like I had nostalgia 2 weeks ago where I hung out with a bunch of people from high school. These two people were having a gender reveal party, and I'm interacting with them. I'm interacting with some people who are married, and one has some who has kids. I'm like, dang.
Hmm.
It just shows you how time flies. Time just flies. I think that's what was it with Richard Linklater was Boyhood. But going back to 10 years ago, people wanted Michael Keaton to win Best Actor because of his narrative. No one had seen Michael Keaton a lot between like, oh man, between like the 80s to when
Hmm.
Boyhood, or not Boyhood, Birdman, which yes, he's appeared in a couple of minor projects, but it's kind of like now when people wanted to see Demi Moore win, but
Yeah.
then Mikey Madison won Best Actress, and there's a lot. Okay, there's arguments with the why Mikey won. One, she was in the Best Picture frontrunner. If you're in the Best
Hmm.
Picture frontrunner and you're up for an acting award, and you're probably winning a couple of precursors, you're likely to win the Best Actor or Actress award. Same thing with Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then henceforth. But of course,
Some
Demi
people
had
were calling, sorry, some people were calling, I'll just say, speaking of Shakespeare in Love, some people were like, it's Mikey Madison is the Gwyneth Paltrow, like of this whole situation, where it's like, yeah, it swept everything, like
yeah,
Shakespeare in Love did.
yeah,
And so I saw a lot of parallels to that
yeah.
we're referencing.
Yeah, but you got to remember the whole Shakespeare in Love thing was because of a certain person that liked to pull on the Academy strings,
Mhm.
who's rotting in prison right now for crimes
Mhm.
against humanity. Y'all know who I'm talking about. I refuse to say his name,
Mhm.
even though I failed to do that past times. But yeah, that was the thing back then. People would tug or have the voice of the Academy, which is how Shakespeare in Love beat out Saving Private Ryan, Gwyneth Paltrow winning Best Actress, which I mean, I haven't really seen all of Shakespeare in Love. I only seen parts of it, and I can never get through to it sometimes. Versus, Saving Private Ryan. And remember, Saving Private Ryan was again a personal film because it was like based on the stories of his dad, who was also in the who fought in the Second World War. So yeah, there was also that. But Mikey, I think some people thought like maybe Demi could win because Demi's a lot older than Mikey. Mikey's 25 at this point. But I'm also like that didn't stop a lot of people like Jennifer Lawrence. She won when she was 22 years old for Silver Linings Playbook.
Mhm.
And like I said, like narratives don't always mean Oscar for the Academy. Going back to again Chadwick Boseman, who had the posthumous narrative, he could have gotten the award posthumously. But to a lot of the Academy members, Anthony Hopkins just had the better performance. Which I haven't seen The Father, but I heard like that's also a tough to watch because of its subject matter of Anthony Hopkins playing a person with dementia.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think he was also up for an award for the two popes. I thought
yeah.
that's what that was.
Yeah. And then again, with
Around that
Michael.
same time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was going to say Michael Keaton with Birdman, but Eddie
Mhm.
Redmayne kept winning the entire thing. I get it.
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking's or Yeah, I
She
get
had
it.
just died around that same time too,
Yeah,
so it's like it's still in people's minds. And
yeah,
they
and
would love
then
to see that.
yeah, and then there are again questionable wins, going back to like questionable nominations. Oh, like the Green Book year, Bohemian Rhapsody got nominated. I'm like, okay, I get it's Freddie Mercury, but constantly having to nominate a film because of like, okay, I haven't seen The Complete Unknown, but I could argue with The Complete Unknown. Like the sound category, like you got to get like the beats of Bob Dylan's music right, especially because what James Mangold did was Walk the Line, where they had the actors sing the songs rather than lip sync for, the characters that they played.
Yeah,
So I would say, even though yes, I haven't seen A Complete Unknown, even though I want to, and I'm not a huge Bob Dylan person.
I
Um,
am. Yes.
yeah,
So it was something I was looking forward to, but I was also not wanting to get my hopes up too much because I'm like Timothy Chalamet. I don't really
yeah.
see, but I don't really see him as Dylan. And now they're saying Jeremy Allen White from The Bear is going to be playing Bruce Springsteen in a
I heard
similar
about
bio.
that. Yeah,
And I'm like, what? You could have just switched it. I see Jeremy Allen White more as Bob Dylan, especially with the hair and the
hmm,
eyes. But I'm a big Bob Dylan, Johnny Cash fan. I have been since I was growing up. But I love Walk the Line, and Joaquin Phoenix played him exceptionally well.
yeah.
Boyd Holbrook in Complete Unknown was good too. I thought the film was good. I didn't think it was. It didn't even scratch the surface of some of the intrigue behind. Like I could see Bob Dylan's life maybe better as a Band of Brothers
Mm,
type 9 hour long miniseries
yeah,
because there are so many. If you do a series of like 90 to 2 hour episodes, each about a different segment of Bob Dylan's life that makes him so interesting and so captivating. I could see that better as opposed to a 2 hour biopic. So it was a good movie, but I wasn't wanting it to get Best Picture or anything. Although Timothy Chalamet, I really loved his work.
yeah,
I didn't think he was deserving of that much Oscar
yeah,
wins.
yeah. And by the way, I think he will win one award eventually. I mean, who knows? Maybe if
He
Dumas.
won. He won for the SAG Awards,
Yeah,
I
he won for
believe.
the SAG. He won for
I
the.
think he's like one of the youngest people ever nominated. I think he's 29 years old. I think he's one of the
Yeah,
youngest people to win for that.
yeah,
So he won for the SAG Awards, which I
yeah,
was happy to see that.
yeah, yeah. And an interesting thing is that like if he had won yesterday, he would have been the second youngest to win the Oscar behind Adrian Brody, who won 22 years ago for The Pianist. And by the way, Adrian Brody winning 22 years ago, he was expected to lose that night because, like I said, you got to win a whole bunch of precursors to for sure win the award. He wasn't. It was between Jack Nicholson for About Schmidt and,
Great movie.
yeah, and Daniel Day-Lewis for The Gangs of New York.
Great
Uh,
movie.
yeah, I mean, this is my personal opinion, and
Uh-huh.
I, as a I forgot what the YouTuber's name is. My list is not the right list. It's just my list or my
Yeah.
opinion. But I feel like that should have been like the year Martin Scorsese should have won. If it wasn't for Raging Bull or Goodfellas, at least Gangs in New York. Even though I love The Departed, and I think he really did deserve it for The Departed. But Gangs
Yeah.
in New York, I think what I liked is just it's a lot more different from some of his other films, especially because it's got YouTube for the music. And I love YouTube, by the way.
Yeah. And they won, I believe they won, I think the Oscar or the Golden Globe
It was the
for
Golden
that
Globe.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was his first movie with Leo, I think.
Was
Leonardo
it?
DiCaprio.
I think so.
That was the first of like now he's done like 8 films with him, I think.
Yeah, I know he's gonna do those two are gonna do one about Frank Sinatra and his second wife. I don't know why specifically the second wife, but I guess I haven't listened to a lot of Sinatra or like got into Sinatra's life. But my dad's listened to some Sinatra and it's actually pretty good. By the way, yes, I listen to a lot of old music, like Johnny Cash. I went to see the
Mhm.
Johnny Cash Museum. Best day of my life because I mean, yeah, because when I first saw Walk the Line, I was like 8 or 9, and then I fell in love with Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting. And then I remember at the camp that I worked at, I was wearing a Johnny Cash shirt, and some little kid who was like 8 years old said he liked the shirt. I'm like, bro, like you must be being raised right because you don't hear a lot of little kids like at that age talk about like Elvis or Johnny Cash or again Bob Dylan. But back to the whole thing, like I said, there's all these precursors that you tend to win, and Mikey happens just to win the BAFTA, which gave her the edge. And again, Honora
Mhm.
was the best picture frontrunner. Like I said, I wish Demi had won. She would have given a great speech. Maybe she would have said something about Bruce Willis because her and Bruce used to be married, and she's still good friends with him, and it's still
She's still
standing.
taking care of him. Yeah, his
Yeah,
health is in serious decline, and she's been taking a lot of care of him. Her and her
yeah,
daughters.
yeah. And like, dude, it's gonna be a sad day because, like,
Hmm.
I mean, he has a serious form of dementia, something that ran into some people of my side of the family, and it's a scary thing. And it's gonna be a sad day. I know probably Demi is gonna say something at that whenever that Oscar year is, whenever he dies. She's probably gonna say something because yes, they've been divorced, but they're still good friends. Yeah, and
And I think she's not gonna. I saw some people that are like, Demi's never gonna get another shot. Fernanda Torres will never be at the Oscars again. I don't think that's true. I think because of these movies and the impact that the Substance and I'm Still Here had, this was their, because Fernanda Torres and her mother, Fernanda Montenegro, were both in the
yeah,
movie. And they're some of the biggest actors to come out of Brazil. And I think now that they're on the international viewfinder now,
hmm
they they're at the forefront of wanting to possibly do more movies. And I think Demi Moore, her career is far from over. I mean, she's 62. And I think that's one of the main messages of that film, is that just because you're 40, 50, 60 and a woman, that's not the end of the road for you. You can do anything.
yeah.
And
It's
so
like,
I like that the Substance, kind of like Birdman did, it kind of like did a fictional, almost extreme
yes, I forgot
um,
about that part.
retelling of real events that happened to that actor and in their career. I could see maybe them, the two of them doing a movie. Maybe, I
That
don't
would
know.
that would be a good movie,
Maybe like
actually.
the 80s have come back with a vengeance. Now they're doing like some kind of action movie.
Hmm
I could see that. For one of my projects, I took in a class at Sam. I had to pitch an action movie that was completely made up, and I had cast her in the leading role
mm
alongside J.K. Simmons, and it was like a like a revenge type thriller and set in the suburbs post World War, no, the World War. She had been, she was a returned veteran, kind of like in
G.I.
G.I.
Jane.
Jane,
Yeah.
and she was coming out of the Afghanistan war and moving into the suburbs of Austin. And it was like this. It was going to be like a Coen Brothers, but like kind of like like a toned down the comedy, more like the action type movie. And I was like, hey, if this movie actually happens and if she becomes a big action star again, then let this be the day that I predicted that would happen.
Yeah. No, I did the same thing with my screenwriting class. It's a script that I've been working on since I was like 16, but the politics in the movie changes. Like at 16, all I heard was communism, 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 right? So you can tell I probably went to a conservative school when I'm saying that constantly, but that's all I heard was communism. And it's not like I knew about fascism and stuff like that. To the point, I started writing that saying like in an era where communism takes over. Fast forward 2017 during the white nationalist movement, if you remember that, it shifted to that.
Yeah.
But now, and I'm more center independent. I started rewriting this when I was an anarchist, really, and it
Hmm.
could be anybody. To be honest with you, that's what the film's about. Anybody, if either if you're far left or far right, or just like complete anarchism, like it's what happens when you let your own personal politics take control of your humanity. That's what it's really about. You
Hmm.
know, I guess you could say satire, political satire, but it's probably the only time I'll ever do a political film because I really just want to do like feel good or like real life event films. But to me, that one that I'm writing, I feel like I need to get this out there because there's something that I'm trying to spread, whether it gets hated or not. I don't care if it gets like a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. I got it out there and I'm getting my point crossed. But
Yeah. Like Coppola with Megalopolis. I mean, that
yeah,
movie was almost universally negatively received, but just the fact that he was like, I'm going to go around the film industry and do my own thing, and he funded it himself, and it was an important film that he wanted to get off his chest for decades, and he finally did. And I think those who saw it and did enjoy it, I think they were able to come away with something really special. And he had a political message in that film too. And I think I heard some comparisons to like, I don't know, like, yeah, some Neil Breen type movies, like some low budget schlock and
yeah.
Steven Seagal maybe, but on a grander scale. And I was thinking like, I remember when I first saw the trailer for that, I'm like, I wonder how many Oscars that's going to get. And
Yeah.
it didn't even go. There's always that one film a year that you think is going to get all the Oscar buzz and never does.
Yeah.
Like last year it was a big upset. One of my favorite films of 2023 was The Iron Claw, and that was a very
Mm,
personal film for me that I was very emotionally impacted by, having grown up in Texas with only brothers. I have no sisters, and having struggled with mental health issues and stuff like that myself. It was a very personal film for me. And to see that not even an acting nomination for Zac Efron, who it was his comeback role, arguably,
yeah,
and Jeremy Allen White, nothing. And it didn't get any Oscar score, which was done by Richard G. Perry, who's a member of one of my favorite indie bands growing up, Arcade Fire. Nothing for that movie. And Megalopolis, I think, because sometimes they do that where, like on Rotten Tomatoes, they have a movie that's rated a rotten score, and it
yeah,
still goes kind of far in the Oscars.
yeah,
So, but not even nothing.
yeah, yeah. We talked a lot. Let's just go back for a little bit before our time runs out here. But as far as I could tell you, where I would rank Anora so far in the Best Picture rankings of this past decade so far, I'm putting it for now in third place. And maybe if I give it a rewatch and I give all the other films a rewatch, because right now it's Nomadland, Coda, Anora, Everything Everywhere, and then Oppenheimer. I stand by Nolan. That's why I'm always keeping Oppenheimer at number one. But like I said, things can change. I got another 5 years for the decade to end, and I made my final list like while back in 21. But then it started changing when I see people's different views and stuff. Like when I go back to the Best Actor race, some people usually have like Daniel Day-Lewis or Joaquin Phoenix or Matthew McConaughey is usually like their top three of the past
Mhm.
decade. But then some people say like you got to look at Casey Affleck's performance in Manchester by the Sea, because all he
Mhm.
did was play a normal guy. That's it. If you think about it,
Mhm.
everybody else was playing like somebody like a famous person, or they're changing their appearance, which is another reason why Mackie Madison won. It's because she just played a
It was
character.
a real person.
It was a real person.
It wasn't a historical figure. It was someone that it felt a very lived in, real world. And Sean Baker does that a lot. And I think one of the reasons why his films always feel so real is you look at some of his earlier films like Starlit, and they are first time actors. I mean, the old woman in that film who played Sadie, that was her. That was the only film she ever did. She was 85 at the time, and I believe she passed away a couple years after that. And she was not an actor. And Dree Hemingway played the younger girl in that, Tess, and she's actually related. She's a direct descendant of Ernest Hemingway, and that
Oh
was her
wow.
first movie too. And that was a big critical darling. Went to South by Southwest. Sean Baker cast a lot of non-professional actors in his films. Yura Borisov was a relatively unknown guy in the English language world, but he was a big actor in Russia. But this was
Mm,
his first breakthrough in Hollywood, and a lot of other actors that appear in his films. Sean Baker will just go to a grocery store, or he'll see them walking their dog, and he's like, "Hey, I want you to send me an audition to be in my movie." He did that with. She was in Red Rocket as well, but she was in Honora. She appeared as one of the bouncers in the club that Honora worked at,
uh,
and she was in Red Rocket, and that was her first film ever. Because when Sean Baker was location scouting, he saw her walking her dog. I was like, "Hey, you want to be in my movie?" And he's like, "Okay." And
yeah.
so now she's in a Best Picture winning film.
Yeah, that's what Quentin Tarantino did with Christoph Waltz. Christoph Waltz was not a known actor in the
Wow.
Western Hemisphere. He was mainly known in Germany and Austria, where she's actually from. So yeah, I guess you could say Sean Baker is like a Tarantino. Tarantino's gets like people that you never heard of, even films you never heard of. Like he's,
Have a very distinct style too.
yeah, but
Similar themes. Yeah, for
which
sure. I can see that.
yeah, which we come full circle now because again we talked about how Tarantino presented Best Director and it went to Sean Baker. But
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, I think that's all the time we can have for now. But normally
Okay.
I don't ask my guests this, but if they want to follow you and some work that you've done, where can they follow you at?
So I am on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel for my production studio, South Second Media and South Second Films. If you want to put a link somewhere here, I will send you that information. I also have an Instagram page where I review pieces and additions, new additions to my vinyl and DVD and CD collection. It's a page I have called Vinyl Cinephile, and I have a collection of vinyl records and DVDs. Some of them Criterion, some of them just regular DVDs that I that I bought, that I discovered. I talk a lot about film and music on there, a little bit of both. And then I have my South Second Media production page where I talk about the production of some of my films. I'm working on some scripts here and there, but also having recently graduated from Sam Houston, I'm looking for a job, hopefully to further my career in that field. So, yeah.
All right.
Find me on there.
Yep, you heard it, folks. Anyway, Omar, thank you for coming for today's episode.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, hopefully we can work on more. Yeah, you guys have a good night, day, morning, whenever you're listening to this. All right, we're signing off.
Good night.
Night. All right.